Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are watching me for the first time, my name is Donna. And for those of you who are not watching me for the first time, thank you so much for continuing to come back to my channel. You know who I am, so I'm not going to introduce myself again to you. But I do appreciate every single one of you that chose to click on my video and watch me. I know that nobody's forcing you to. You're choosing to do so, and that warms my heart so much more than you will ever know, more than likely. Again, here we are in this room with all this lighting issue. I just went through a bunch of... I recorded this video already once, but I was far too orange to even think about finishing it. I started it, got about 10 minutes in, and said, I can't do this. You guys couldn't even see anything. So today I'm doing my palette roulette series. This is, I believe, the 5th video in the palette roulette series. It's going to get to a point where I'm not going to remember what video it is. For those of you who are new to me or to this series, this is a series that was inspired by Dani from her channel, Danibo, in which she did a palette a week series, and she used a kind of a Wheel of Fortune app to choose a palette for her that she was to be using for a week. And her series was created as more of a decluttering series than mine is. Mine isn't a decluttering series. Almost every aspect of my collection is rather new to me. I didn't start my makeup journey until approximately like a year and a few months ago. So I guess I bought my first palettes about 2 years ago, but didn't start this journey for real until about a year and a half ago. So almost everything that I have to me is new. So my palette roulette isn't for a decluttering series. It's more of a use what I have series. The biggest reason why I decided to do this is because I had been kind of doing it to some extent without actually having a series about it, but I was noticing that as I was purchasing things to come into my collection, the things that I was using, the things that were new to me at that moment, just kind of went into my stash and never came back out. Like I would completely forget about them, or some things were just entirely new. Dani was inspired to do hers based on a subreddit that she read in regards to consumerism and having too much and using what you have. And that is why hers became a decluttering series, and I have her channel and her series listed down in my description box. If you guys are interested in checking her out, I suggest you do so. She has some pretty awesome content. She's a very highly educated person, like doing like crazy things that I could never even dream of doing. And I think that she is an amazing content creator and deserves far more subscribers than what she has. I am not doing mine as a consumerism type, use it or get rid of it kind of series or declutter series. I'm just using it as a remembering what I have and using it kind of series. The palette that was chosen for me through my Decide Now app last year fell into the aspect of a palette I had purchased and never even used. So I was really actually pretty excited to have it come up on the palette roulette. It was one that I had purchased because the color story spoke to me, and it's the first time I had ever purchased that brand. I was a little scared of it, but at the same time really excited to use it, and it is this one. It is the NYX Machinist Grind palette, and I just love this packaging that is part of the draw to the palette, but then when you open it up, these are the shades that you get, and it's a very subculture-esque to me, and I love my subculture palette. Love it. So, and I know that that was a hugely, talked about palette and kind of controversial palette, but it's a palette that I love. The color story to it is just amazing, and this one really spoke to me along those very same lines. So the shades on in this palette are not on it anywhere. There is no shade names. It does have a nice mirror to it, which I thought was amazing. You can do your makeup and really look at what's going on your face and have a good size mirror to do that with. I have used every single color in this palette over the last week, and I really enjoyed the palette. This palette comes with 12 shades, as you can see, and each one of those shades, each one of those pans has 0.03 ounces of product in it, which is just a tad bit smaller than a single shadow pan that you would get from, say, ColourPop. So they're decent sized pans, and I believe it was $12.99 when I purchased it. It might have been on a sale. I cannot remember, and I will find out the price, the regular price for you, and put it down here in the screen. But I'm going to do the swatches for you, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the palette, and then we'll pick the one for next time. So the swatches I have for you go these 4, and then these 2, and then these 2, and these 4, because I wanted to put 6 on each hand so that you guys could see exactly what it was that we're working with here. All right. So the first shadow I have here is this green one here. It is the green shimmery color down at the bottom. It's kind of a duochrome color. It kind of shifts kind of brown. It looks really good with a brown like smoky eye, just flat on the lid. The next one we have here is kind of a purple duochrome that shifts kind of red. It doesn't look good with other purples. It does appear very lavender in the pan, but it does not appear lavender on your eyes. The next color we have here is this one here, which is kind of like a brick red matte color, and it actually is a bit more brown toned than I would have preferred it to be. I wish they would have put just a little bit more red pigment into it to make it a little bit more red, to go with the brown and the green in this palette a little bit better, and maybe even the mustard in this palette a little bit better. It is a beautiful matte, and it's one of the mattes in this palette, though, that I didn't find a whole lot of problems with trying to blend, so that's always a good thing. This one here is a coppery, like, shimmer color. It's kind of that of a really brand new penny. It is a color that I have, like, right here, just kind of in my eye look today. It is one of the last colors in this palette that I needed to use, so I used it today. And I really find that it is a beautiful color. It really kind of goes with the whole color scheme that I've got going on today. And it didn't take me much to get it to appear on my eye in the fashion that I wanted it to appear. I think that it's a beautiful color. The next one we have here is this one here, which is this shimmery color in the palette. This really light, like, pink color, and it is just a very baby pink. And then we have this one here, which is a matte, like, flesh color, and I found that to be quite useful actually for my all over the eye set on my eye primer, just to lay down a base. As you can see, it's not hugely pigmented. You can barely see it on my skin, so it didn't go onto my eye like this super orange color. I did try this one first as a setting powder, which was really stupid, and just ended up using this one pretty much every single day in my eye looks for a setting powder to my primer. These are the next 6 shades, which, like I said, we'll start right here with this color here and go to this one, and then these 4 across the bottom. We have this one here, which is kind of a mustardy brown shade. It reminds me of like malto meal, like the malto meal color. It is a beautiful matte color. It blends out really well. Then I have this one here, which is a darker brown color, and it is a matte shade. And as you can see right here, it's super patchy. It is also in the crease of my eye and is just kind of super patchy. The darker colors in this palette, which we'll get to in a minute, were a little bit harder to blend, and they were a little bit patchy. Then we have this color here, which is this corner color here. I used it almost every single day as a brow bone highlight. I found that that's how it worked best. It didn't really translate very well on my lid, in the inner corner of my lid. I also didn't put it into, you know, as an inner corner highlight on my eyes because I don't do that a lot, to be honest. But on me, it just emphasized texture a lot, which was not something that I wanted to do. Then we have this color here, which is a dark green color. It is in my eye look today. I'm sure that you guys can see it. It is also a harder color to blend, a harder color to make work. I found it was best to pack it on and then slightly blend it, more so than it was to blend it as I was trying to put it onto my lid. Then we have this color here, which is supposed to be a, I mean, it appears in here as a really dark purple. I don't know if you guys can see that, but on my hand, I'm sure that you can see it kind of looks purple, but it's just not purple. It's just not purple, and it translates onto the eye more as a really grungy black look, like a dirty black, if that makes any sense, more so than it does a purple. And then you have this color here, which is a matte, like mustard color, which I actually thoroughly enjoy. This is probably my favorite color in the palette. It is the one I went into the most. I don't know if you guys can see the use of that color, but it's one that I use the most, and I used it the most because I could blend it into my crease and above, and it kind of went well with every single color. What I will say, I'm gonna stand over here so I can put some pictures up here. What I will say about this palette is, if you guys are not into grungy, you know, 90s looks, you probably won't like this palette. It is very subculture-esque, and the darker colors in this palette, these two in particular, do have a harder time blending. I'm not a makeup artist, so maybe a makeup artist's take on this would be completely different. Maybe they would have no troubles blending this. But in my opinion, because I'm not a makeup artist, and the caliber of content that I create should be friendly to those of us that are not makeup artists, right? You should know that there are colors in here that are not going to blend like a dream, that are not going to look anything like, you know, they would on an Instagram post or whatnot. And I will have some photos of myself in this palette on my Instagram if you guys want to check that out. It's at My New Obsession 2017. And I'll put that down here for you. Regardless of whether these two were super hard to blend out, this one was a little bit patchy as well, this dark brown. It is a good palette. It's a decent palette, and for $12.99 it's a really good palette. I know for myself, NYX is a brand that I had not, as far as eyeshadows, NYX is a brand that I had not tried yet, and I have had the NYX Ultimate Basics Brights in my cart, like in and out for the last year. And if I had to go off of my opinion of this palette on whether I was going to purchase that or not, I would definitely purchase it. I really did enjoy this palette. Would I suggest it to somebody new into makeup? Probably not, just because these two colors are a little bit patchy, and the shimmers in this palette are a little more difficult to use than, say, the shimmers in an ABH palette. But I will say that I could put them on my eye and not have a whole lot of fallout. There wasn't a whole lot of fallout with this palette at all, which I was super excited about, and it's a relatively inexpensive palette. It is a palette that I will continue to use. It's probably the palette that I will go to for a subculture look prior to subculture, which tells me a lot. This was just a lot easier for me to use. Subculture is one of those palettes that I know that I cannot take out on a work day and do my makeup with in the time that I allow myself to do my makeup. So this is that color scheme easier, if that makes sense. So with that, we are going to choose next week's palette. I always get so excited to choose the next week's palette because I actually have been having a lot of fun with this whole process here. And I hope that for those of you out there that are also doing this with me, that you're leaving comments down below on what you're using, what palettes your Decide Now app chose. The app that I use, is Decide Now. It is through the App Store. It's a really simple app to use. You just pick the color of the wheel that you want and you name the wheel and you start putting all the stuff to go into that wheel. Mine is called Palette of the Week, inspired by Danibo, and that is my palette, and that is my wheel, and all of my palettes are in that wheel. And as I add new palettes to my collection, they also go in here. I can easily go in and just edit the wheel through this little thing. Just go in and edit the wheel and add more palettes to it. So with that being said, let's go ahead and spin the wheel and find out what palette we are using next week. I'm so excited. Morphe Boss Mood. Let me go get that palette real quick. Alright, so this is the Morphe Boss Mood palette, and this is actually a palette that was gifted to me by a friend of mine. Her name is Rochelle. And this is the inside of it. Of course, there's no mirror. It is a just classic, Morphe palette in the packaging that it comes in. This is the 35M is another name for it. This piece of paper, this sheet here goes over the top of these guys, and it has all the palette names on it. But this is the palette. I am really excited to use this. I actually did a get ready with me using new stuff with this palette not that long ago, because it was a palette that came into my collection right before I started this palette Roulette series, and I hadn't even gotten to touch it yet, so I really just wanted to touch it. So I did a using new products get ready with me. I'll link up here in the cards so that you guys can watch that. But I used all of these shades up here on top, all those beautiful greens. Oh, I am so excited to use this over the next week. You know what's really cool to me is the last couple palettes have been very fall winter-esque. I've been able to do like a really vampy look, and I really dig dark colors on my skin. I dig the darks, I dig the oranges and the browns and the yellows on my skin tone. I love me a good pink purple eye look, and this palette is going to be spectacular. So throughout this video you probably saw a good 3 eye looks, and then this one that I am wearing today using the NYX Grind palette. Next week I will probably have several for you, and I will actually include pictures of that get ready with me that I did in next week's video. I am so excited for this palette. Let me know if you're excited for me to use this palette. Let me know if you're excited to hear about this palette next week. Let me know what you think about the NYX Machinist Grind palette. I actually was pretty impressed with that palette. As well as the colors. I mean, these are not bad. This color scheme is a pretty amazing color scheme. The shimmers, like I said, a little hard to work with. The mattes, the darker mattes were a little patchy, a lot harder to work with than I anticipated. But in general, a pretty good palette. Not one that I would suggest for somebody just getting into darker tones on their eyes. It does take a lot of work, but definitely a good palette. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Please give me a thumbs up if you're enjoying this content. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed me. I really enjoyed having you around today and watching my video, and I would really like to hear what you have to say about all this in the comments section. Please let me know what you think. If you are enjoying this content, absolutely let me know. Like, I am not so into YouTube yet that I know 100,000% how to read my analytics. So I really depend on your comments down in the comments section to let me know that what I'm doing here is right. I really hope that you'll want to stick around and you consider subscribing on your way out. I do upload content 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or Sunday, depending on how my work week goes. Sometimes there's a bonus video in there. And I love watching this YouTube family of mine grow. I love having new people in the comments section, and I'm still at that point where I'm a small enough YouTuber that I'm responding to every single one of your comments. It might take me a minute because I do work a full plus time job and have 6 kids, but I get there. And if you subscribe to me and you have a channel yourself, please let me know. I will go to your channel, watch your content, help you move along in your journey as well. And thank you guys so much again for watching. Until next time, bye guys.